Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. So as always, I asked my community a question, and the results were pretty much what I expected them to be. As always, you can check the, you can sub and you'll see the polls. I ask them, like I said, every couple of days or so. So today's question was, are map offerings bad for the game? And it was a few simple answers, yes, no, only for Survivor and only for Killers. Yes, just one, outright. Now, I do want to say a couple of the reasons some people who said no gave me. People who are achievement farming, obviously, map offerings help with that. Killers running specific builds, which we'll get into that in a minute. And survivors also running specific builds. Now, here's the thing with map offerings. I am of the opinion, as many are, that the map offerings shouldn't increase your chances to go to a map. It should decrease your chances to go to a map. So if there's a map you specifically don't want to go to, you can just bring a map offering and the chances are lower. Not impossible, but lower. However, the issue with this is, in theory, a Swift could bring 4 of them for 4 different maps to make sure they never get a killer-sided map in the game. Because there are a few maps that people tend to say are pretty balanced. Macmillan's, most of them. I mean, it's called the Try Hard Bone for a reason. Dead Dogs is pretty okay, at least in my opinion. For both sides, I think it gives both sides an equal opportunity chance. I do think some killers make that map a little bit more frustrating than it needs to be. But then you have maps like Larry's, which typically you'll see if you're going up against a Scratch Me or Myers. But once again, this brings into the idea of, if you're bringing a build like that, should you have so much control over where you're going to the point to where the survivors kind of just have to deal with it? And then on the killer side, there's a lot of maps in this game that are not very good for killers. A lot of specific killers. Gideon's is a big one. Eyrie of Crows, Borgo, Garden of Joy, many, many others. Badham, there's another one. So should the survivors be allowed to use this process to basically increase their chances to the nth degree? Because in my opinion, I think maps are more impactful than a lot of the perks in the game. Honestly, if I go on Badham as pretty much any killer, there's very few I know who can like kind of make Badham work very well. A lot of times if I win on Badham, it's because the survivors messed up a lot. It just feels bad. I feel like I already lost a match during the loading screen, you know? Especially once I see the map offering show up. And like I said, on the killer side, like, there aren't very many super killer-sided maps in this game, but Midwich is probably the one that most people bring up. Is it fair that the killer should be able to bring you to Midwich pretty much as they want? And it's a question that I really think just it shouldn't be a thing. I think the randomness of this game is part of what makes it as fun as it is. From the RNG of the maps, to the RNG of the tiles, to the hundreds of perks that can be brought, even though, you know, only like 20 or 30 of them are brought. That's not the point, though. The point is the chance is there. The map offering system, though, completely negates a lot of that randomness. And it allows you to put the game into your favor way more than I think it should. For both sides. Like, this isn't just a killer or survivor thing. I do think survivors often bring map offerings more often, but that's also a 4v1 situation, so numbers and all that. But most killers, if they do bring a map offering, it's usually Try Hard Bone or Midwich, or like I said, for specific like jump scare builds on Myers, like for Larry's and whatnot. But that's usually about it. But either way, even if it's just what it's for, I do think it's pretty bad. Now, achievement farming is another one that often gets brought up, and it was brought up a couple times. Once again, my suggestion for this is very simple, and that is just don't tie achievements to maps. I don't understand why that's a thing. And if you do tie them to maps, make them very simple, like the ones that are like do like the main building generator on maps. I think there's one for that on Shelter Woods, or Red Forest, I mean. Don't make them like RPD, where if I remember correctly, it's like 20 escapes out the main gate. Why? Why is that so complicated and so hard to do? It's not even hard to do. It's just time consuming. So much can go wrong. Like, it's insane. That would be my only suggestion with that. I think the map offering system is just a relic of an older time. I think when this game didn't have that many maps, like 10 or so, I think it was fine to have a map offering system because, you know, it kind of might have spiced up some things. But in today's age with the game, I would get rid of it. And this isn't me trying to make it competitive. If anything, this is trying to make it less competitive, and more casual, because the maps are completely random. There's also been this idea of let's make a map ban system where, like in CS:GO, where like you can pick maps you don't want to go to. The problem with this is kind of the same problem with the map offerings in general, is that it would kind of get rid of variety, because a lot of killers wouldn't want to go to certain maps. For me, it would be Gideon's. I would pick Gideon's every time. It's the only map in this game I kind of grunge at whenever I see it. I know a lot of killers don't like Eerie, a lot of killers don't like Borgo, a lot of killers don't like Garden of Joy. I'm not the biggest fan of Garden of Joy myself, but Gideon's is probably the one I would ban. But is that fair to the survivors to never have the chance to play on that map just because they're playing against me? And then you had to bring into the question of, well, there's 4 survivors. Do they all get to ban one map? So that means there's 5 possible maps in the game that just can never be played in that specific instance. And then it goes into a whole thing of, well, that kind of gets rid of variety. Well, should it just, like, lower the chances? And, yeah. Once again, I think an offering that did it would be the happy middle ground. An interesting suggestion I did see also was limit it to 1 per day. While I agree with the sentiment, I don't think that's going to fix the issue, because you're not really playing against the same people over and over again, even at the DGen hours I play. So you're not really going to see this do much to fix the issue. It's the same problem with, like, increasing the price of, like, iridescent add-ons. That doesn't really fix anything, because people like me are going to stockpile them anyways, and then you're not going to play against me again. You're going to play against somebody else who also probably has an Eerie add-on. And, yeah, there's a lot of things that go wrong with it. But, yeah, once again, I think the map offering system should be changed to make it so the offerings themselves are kind of like the ban wave, which I know is very similar to, like, a ban system. The only difference is that it's not inherent, and there's still a chance it happens. And you also have to bring an offering. Most people aren't really going to, especially killers. A lot of killers mostly either bring Moris or Blood Point offerings for the most part. A lot of casual survivors do the same thing. So I don't think it really affect it too much at the end of the day. But yeah, normally this is where I'd ask you guys to tell me what you think below for comment bait, but you already did in the post. But like and sub and all that stuff, I'm supposed to say that, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Have a good one, and bye!